Hey team! Let me press a button here to get some music kicking over in the old Epidemic channel. We're back for a special edition. I normally don't play, I normally don't do design stuff. I'm normally playing D&D at lunch on Wednesdays, but my team had a conflict of schedule, so I find myself with some free time. We are going to continue to develop of the martial power system that we're developing for martial characters in 5th edition. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to check my signal here real quick, go through my intro spiel, and then get to work. So let's see if my signal comes through and true. Check, check. Signal check, check, check. Through and true. Check, check. Sounds square. Awesome. Let's grab that. And we're going to, let me just do my intro spiel here real quick, and then we will get to work. So let's see here. All right, cool. Hey, my name is Phil Kearney. I create role-playing content and artwork for them here online. I've been focusing my attention on Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition over the past few years. There are a slew of links to work that I've done down in the description down below, including what you can see here on the screen, the spell point variant rules that I've been using for a number of years now and have codified into a slew of books with a large discount and extensive previews so folks can just kind of grok what it is that I do. I build a book, I send it out to the editor gives it back, I then do page layouts, and then I do all the illustrations and the gaps in the cover, and then once that's done, we seal it into a PDF and we publish it online, currently on the DMsGuild. So we're currently going through that ideation process here with the martial power system that I'm proposing, and let me just get stuff out of the way here. If you want to follow me for future projects, I'm on Twitter. If you're still in Twitter space, I'm at Phil Kearney. Otherwise, like, subscribe. I picked up another subscriber today. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notifications. I am here online, either developing games or painting illustrations for book covers, commissions, or interior art for the books that I'm building 6 days a week. So be welcome to jump on board and kick along with me if you're interested. We are today continuing to explore the martial power system that we were talking about yesterday. This is, if you check my description below, not only is there a link to a slew of books that I've already created, but there's also a link to my Patreon that you do not have to be a member of, though God bless you if you are. But there is a link here to playtest content for the martial power system. And if you go there and you click here, it'll open up. For you, it'll be a read-only document, but it's the actual document that I am currently working on right here. So you can jump in, check it out. Everything here is already available from level 1 to 20. I've been playtesting it on my own home table with a ranger, a rogue, and allowing it for druids during wild shaping. We had a paladin, we lost a paladin though. So from level 12 to now 19, so far everything is working out really fantastic. I still need to set up a hex crawl game for people to run from, like, say, level 3 to 7, so I can make sure that everything's curving out at the low end as intended. And once my Spelljammer book is done, that we do artwork for in the mornings, Monday through Friday, we'll then have a space opened up for Eberron to move forward to my morning crew, and that Eberron space that we do artwork for in the evenings will be opened for us to do more martial powers work, of which I can invest some of that time on a weekly basis to running a team, just to get some feels and feedback from people. So this is an active living document. Everything inside here is stuff that I've been testing with characters that have, like 1938 mana in their pocket at any given time to really just be able to sling power around. And it feels fantastic. But I want to make sure that it still feels good at the low end of games so that you aren't waiting half of your campaign to feel like this stuff is cool. My gut is telling me we're going to curve out okay, but I got to put in the hours and get some honest feedback from folks in the live game experiences. And the best way I know to do that is just to throw together a campaign and have people slog through it. So if you're interested in this stuff, you're welcome to reach out to me through Twitter, in comments down below, or if you know where I skulk on Discords, you can catch me there. I have yet to open up my own Discord channel, but I'll probably end up doing that here in the next couple months as we get towards completing the Spelljammer project. I'll probably need to have a Discord up and running for people to be able to tag in and ask me live questions to make sure that everything's working as intended, and we can then use that as a fuel source to get playtest content up and running for this as well. So, hey, what are we doing today? So yesterday, we built out the initial mechanics for conversion of Path of Wild Magic into the power system. We still have to build out a power list that you gain automatically as a result of taking Path of Wild Magic. But we also need to go back, and I want to play with the Path of the Giant some more, which we built out 2 weeks ago. I have thoughts and objectives for this, and we're going to prioritize wild magic right now. And let me get my clock going here. I've got about maybe 80 minutes or so for me to play with today. So I'm going to set a 20-minute timer and see where we end up at. So for now, we are going to, hey Knack, we are going to prioritize currently fleshing out the power kit for the wild magic. I actually want to go down here and look at the solution that we had created for, let's see, until your rage ends, any creature maintaining concentration on a spell or effect. I need to have range limits on this. Until your rage ends, any creature maintaining concentration, any creature within 5 feet, that is 5 feet of you, that is maintaining concentration on a spell or effect, must make a wisdom saving throw against your channeling DC. Failing the save ends the spell or effect. There, that provides spatial limitations on where the on how large this this wild magic disruption effect is. And if you guys tagged in with us yesterday, you know that I rebuilt the magic table here to basically use your there's the power die that you start with a D6, it then grows into a D8, and then evolves eventually into a D10. As you take the wild magic table, your results are thus locked in depending on what level of a barbarian you are. So you can start off with your first 6 options here, and then once you get to 9th level and your die upgrades to a D8, then you start getting some of the sweeter choices at 7 and 8, and then once you get into the fourth tier at 17th level with a D10 die roll, that's when you get the higher end stuff, like being able to teleport at will during the duration of your rage and using Misty Step basically at will each round. That's a 2nd level spell that you get to cast for free for a persistent rage effect that could potentially be 10 minutes. You're going to teleport every round for 100 rounds. To me, that says 4th tier. So that's why we pushed that, even though originally it was in the original D8 set. The way that we structured this was to push it back into the higher tier. And along with it, now we have this disruption effect that as long as you're within reach of within 5 feet, you can start screwing up concentration on any enemies that you are facing until you reach any creature you choose, any number of creatures you choose. This isn't perfect language. I'm just doing the rough outlines to get the gist of how this works. I then hire an editor to help make smart speaky. And then once the speaky is smart, they pass it back to me. And then I start building out the document, and then we do all the illustrations, and then we publish it, blah. So, wow, I got a flood of people here all of a sudden. What's up, Holmeses? Get up, yo-yo. Hornetico, hey. Beefy Taco, what up? I have swapped. Yeah, cheers. Krieg, good to see you, my guy. Not a dog. Duly noted, not a dog. I guess you are here now. Oh, okay. Right on, let's go. Right on. So yeah, we rebuilt yesterday's stream. You can see it in the playlist. We rebuilt Path of Wild Magic. So I recalibrated all the features of this path so that it coincides and jives with the power structure that we have for the martial power progression table. And if you just got here, like I just finished mentioning, the description, you can click through in the description here to my Patreon. That'll lead you to the Martial Powers Kit. that is 100% free preview for folks. It's a read-only document, but everyone can read it. It's like 70 pages. Yeah, we're at 76. I mean, like 5 of them are garbage, but there's about 70 pages here worth of content that you can use from level 1 to 20 for all the classes that are represented, which includes the Barbarian, the Fighter, the Ranger, Rogue, Paladin, and then there's special exceptions for both the Artificer and the Warlock to make use of some of this stuff as well. But there's 140 different powers. Right now what we're doing is, click that down to there and go to there, here. We are, each of these, this is the last kit that we need to build for the Barbarian. So you can see here, like, you have the features of the class, and if they don't need to change, they don't need to change. If they're good as is, great. But then we have a power list, just like spellcasters get a list of automatic spells they have access to at different breakpoints as you gain in levels. I too grant specific powers that you may not have actually ever considered taking because they might not be as flashy or optimal or add to your action loop sequence that you want to build for your character to help your team, but are thematic to the kind of character that you're deciding to invest into. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to take the list of martial powers that already exist. There's 140 of them. Exploits modify movement and die rolls. Like if I'm making an ability check, I can just spontaneously decide to burn a point of mana to gain like bonuses like advantage or roll an extra die or modify the effects. Stuff. It's an exploit off of a die roll or like an exploit of movement like charge, for instance. When you take the move action, you can channel this power to prevent triggered opportunity attacks due to your movement. The first attack you make during this movement can roll 1 power die per mana channeled, adding the highest roll to the result of the attack roll. So like if I'm 9th level and I'm using a charge feature, at 9th level I have access to a D8. If I decided to burn, say, 2 mana during a charge, I'd roll 2 8-sided dice, and I would keep the better of the 2 8-siders. So there's a risk-reward thing going on there, where you may just want to burn 1 mana to get 1 die roll, but if you roll 1, that's going to feel like shit. So it's up to you if you want to burn more than 1 mana at a time, and each class has its own sort of mechanics that lets you cheat extra mana or regain mana during different actions. Like we'll look at the Barbarian here just real quick before I really dive into this stuff because I like to rant about it, but I'm on a timer today. But I can't help ranting. So some of the things that the Barbarian gets, aside from martial powers and fury points, which is what you call mana, and then channeling rage, there's also the empowered rest, which is when you spend a hit die to heal damage during a short rest. You can also regain a number of spent fury equal to the number of dice spent up to your Barbarian level. And since a Barbarian gains mana at the rate of 1 point per level as a martial point progression, then at 20th level, if you take a rest, you want to burn all 20 of your hit dice. Now you're going to get a shitload of hit points back, but you're going to get all your mana back. So you can start loading up on mana that way. I see some text going on here, but I'm just going to let this pause here for a second so you guys can soak in the primal. Like we think that 1 D&D is going to convert hit dice to regaining all hit dice on a long rest, but it's not locked in stone yet. So I added this feature here to make sure that primal stamina gives you that. If in 1 D&D conversion we see that becomes core, I'll just strip this out of there and probably add another picture. Optional class feature, Empowered Wounds, and then there's the alternate class feature for Brutal Fury. These are things that you can opt into if you're using the power system to replace options or add options to what the Barbarian can normally do. So you guys can read that for a second. I'm going to catch up on my notes here. Hey, so do you want me to jump in and put the Wild Magic table into an actual table for you while you're... Nah, not yet. I'm not going to bother with it. Thanks for the offer, though, Knack. I really appreciate it. Thematic options always dope. Most of the time, I will take optional choices, but sometimes I have a theme I want to follow, so I'll take the thematic option instead. So that's the great thing about options and alternate class features. I like that Tosh and XGE did that stuff. Don't forget to like. Thanks, man. Thanks a lot. Hey, great. Okay, great. So yeah, optional class feature, Empowered Wounds at 6th level. As a reaction to taking damage on a critical hit while raging, you can recover a number of spent fury equal to the max rank of power gained as a Barbarian. That's huge. Okay, so that prevents Bag of Rats because you can't control when you have a crit. You could have your friend bash you with a rock all day until you get a crit, and he could end up killing you in the process, so screw you. So you're eating up resources in that sense. Since criticals, and there's absolutely nothing in this document that ups your likelihood of getting crits. There is a power that if you get a crit, you can blow mana to automatically deal maximum damage on that crit, but it requires you to actually get the crit in the first place. So crit fishing is not a thing in here, so you can't bag of rats easily using that. In combat, it's freaking awesome. You should be raging as a barbarian in combat if at all possible, and you can't control when a crit will happen. So there's a significant reward and risk going into that effort because you can't plan for it, but if it pops up, it's a great opportunity for you to refuel your juice. Great option. I love that. And you can see here it's key to the power gained as a barbarian. My multi-classing in this book allows you to fluidly jump from one class to another, and virtually everything about the progression tree is designed to scroll up here. It's all designed, everything about this curves together and builds on top of each other, except that you accumulate your mana pool. Like, damn it. Let's go back up to the top here. If you have 5 levels as a fighter and 5 levels as a barbarian, you're a 10th level character. That will take your power die up to a D10. You'll have a total of 11 powers accumulated at 10th. You'll have access to a maximum of 3 mana tapped at once. But your fighter can only learn second rank powers. Your barbarian can only learn second rank powers. And you'd only have 5 mana from the fighter and 5 mana from the barbarian for a total of 10 mana in your pool, which happens to equal 10 here, but it starts to skew if you borrow into other hybriding or key and pack points. So it's designed to be generous, but it rewards you for staying focused in a single class. I could go like fighter 10, barbarian 10, and end up at 20th level with all of these benefits here and the same mana stack, but I'm only going to be able to have access to 3rd rank powers as a barbarian, which means that I'm now capped on anything that the barbarian is offering me as a class feature, because it's all working off of this power gained as a barbarian. So that would mean that even at 20th level, if I react to a critical coming in on me at 20th level, I'm still only going to get 3 mana because I bailed out of barbarian before after 11th level or 10th level, whatever. Anyway, so that's the gist of it. I'm actually going to get started now. Now that I've ranted for 20 minutes. We can go ahead and get started here. So powers, what we're going to do with powers. There's very little mana that a character has at low levels. So we saw like you gain 1 mana per level, right? So that means that at low levels, gaining features is incredibly expensive, and we want to try to avoid that. So we're going to kick down here to our power list. Not only are there 140 different powers for you to choose from to build your own kind of action loops and how you can help your team, but one of the options that you can always pick instead of learning a power is you can grab a feat. So if you get 16 feats throughout the course of your character's career. So if you wanted to, you could ignore your mana pool completely and just get a crap load of feats and just be a basic barbarian or basic fighter, but you've got a fuck ton of feats, so all your ASIs can go to building up your ability scores like actual casters often get to do, and all of the stuff that you want to be able to get as passive options are just built into your kit instead. So at 3rd level, when we first have our first selection of options, I often choose feats because they don't require any mana. So if you want to use mana, you can use the mana on the things that you chose instead of stuff that's built into the kit. By 5th level, there's enough mana going on that we can start looking at sustained powers, which are like concentration effects that last for multiple rounds for however long. They have no deadline. However long you can maintain it, you can keep it. So there's no endpoint on anything in this game. It's all about how long can I maintain it, or how long does it take my opponent to overcome the saving throw necessary to end an effect. But otherwise, there are no timers to worry about. You hit somebody with an effect, it's going to stay on them until they can figure out a way to get out of it. And as a DM, you can drop those things on your characters as well, which makes your cleric really important to be able to throw out restoration spells, because restoration spells can end power effects on you. But it's going to cost them 3 mana to do it every time they burn it. So you can burn down your healer's mana pool by automatically applying detriments to characters from like say an ogre that when he hits you, he dazes you, and now you can't take reactions until you can recover on a Constitution saving throw. You might have a boost that lets you recover Constitution saving throws easily. But if you don't, you may have to rely on your cleric to hit you with restoration so you can get that shit out of your field, so you can start using your Pam Sentinel action loop to keep that Barbarian from going over and squishing your wizard, for instance. So you have a highly customizable system that the DM can use on monsters ad hoc, just as much as the players can use and build for themselves. So you can make an infinite variety of goblins using different tactical situations that you just plunk in, like, I'm going to give them this, this, and this. And you can use these things once per round. That makes your goblins incredibly dynamic to be able to just do stuff. So that's the idea behind that. So looking at, again, the idea here is to keep costs cheap with either feats or concentration effects at the 3rd level into 5th level, and then eventually curve out into really expensive stuff at higher levels when you have a lot of mana and you can afford to regain that mana, so you can keep moving action loops in sequence. Next suggestion: make the fighter's mana be called discipline or focus. Maybe. So this is my first time seeing this concept. Is this for a spell point system for marshals? Beefy Taco, yes. If you aren't familiar with my work, in the description down below, there is a link to the color mana spell points that I have on the DMsGuild. You can look at all that content. Virtually all of it is almost an entire document. It's full, and for free preview, you can see what I've built over the past few years is a color mana system and an elemental mana system that all uses spell points, not using the Dungeon Master's Guide suggestion, recalibrating spell points to be able to work on a 1-to-1 ratio, so that you can do things like, if you want like if you want to do Magic the Gathering stuff and have like a red wizard, then you would have red mana. But like if you want to have a Rakdos cultist, you could have red and black mana, and then different spells are assigned different colors that you can either learn to be a different color, spending time and resources to build your spell list into the mana pool that you want, or you can, on a short rest and long rest, calibrate your points to be the color or element that you want. So the spells that you have access to, you can buy into by dividing your mana pool across them. The problem there is that if you have a black and a red mana pool, you have to split your mana between the two. So you're self-nerfing for the sake of narrative depth. If you're an MTG fanatic, this is super cool stuff. If I want to play a Rakdos Warlock, I want red and black mana. Now it's up to me to wheel and deal power to get more stuff to pull into, say, black mana. So all I have to worry about is black mana. In this system, color or elemental or just universal key, it's up to you depending on what level of depth you want. But if you go, like, say, with that Rakdos example, you could assign, say, strikes and sustained powers to be black, exploits and maneuvers to be red, and reactions could be both black and red mana. Or you could spend time to study your strikes so that they can become red magic as well. So it's up to you. Or you could just ignore all that crap and just have it be universal points like Monk's Key already is, and just use black and red as a narrative description without any mechanical depth. So you have the option of having a deeper mechanical presence in the game, or you can just leave it strictly narrative. And if you want to go with the airbender direction, there's air, earth, fire, and water mana, which is in the elemental key book in that bundle, where you can see how the 4 elemental monk is broken into 4 different elemental key. So if you want to be an airbender, all you do is have air elemental key, and then all the spells and effects that you pick are air-based. And using this system with that, instead of learning spells, you can just learn extra maneuvers, so that you can just stack up different effects. And like Swift Attunement would use air key, but it's kind of like a meta mechanic. Swift Attunement is a meta mechanic, so it doesn't really matter what color mana you use. But in some things, it actually, like for example, phase. You become incorporeal until the beginning of your next turn. You can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. If you end your turn in a space occupied by another creature or object, you instead end the turn in the most recently unoccupied space that you move through during your turn. Any attacks you make during this phase deals force damage. If you were an airbender and you took phase, your narrative on that would be, I just turned into a puff of smoke and just float through other people's space. And the damage that I'm doing is the force of the wind that I'm striking with. But you could also do that like with earth, and that like I'm treading through the ground that creatures are standing on, for instance. and the force effect is the impact of the gravel hitting them. That you can make up your own narrative, but the mechanics that you choose are up to you. And we're still building out the section of the book that talks more in depth about adding paradigms to your game if you want to have them, either narratively or mechanically. But I actually spend a lot of time in the core books down below talking about paradigms in general from a color perspective specifically. But the general gist of it is, yeah, it's a mana system. All 13 classes use the exact same mana system and same mana resources when this book is complete. So you have a universal spell point system that affects all classes with the same language, so you can freely multi-class between different classes, and your mana pool is always going to work the same way depending on what kind of character you build. So you have a lot more flexibility. And then we can do things like have an advanced Dragonborn that, like, if I spend 3 mana, I can like supercharge or expand the reach of my breath weapon and stuff like that. But that's late stage development stuff once all the books are built. So back on task. Let's find some feats that make particular sense for the path of wild magic for a barbarian. I don't necessarily know if any of these feats will make sense. If they do, awesome blossom. If they don't, then we'll move to sustained powers to see if there's anything we want to concentrate on that does make sense instead. So let's see. And if anyone has any suggestions, about anything, if you're in the document with me as a read-only, or if you're just looking on screen with me, if anything jumps out at you as something that you think feels particularly wild magic, I am open to hearing it. Let's see. Tavern Brawler, maybe? Oh, Savage Attacker. I bet that makes a lot of sense for wild magic. Hold on, let's check it out real quick. D&D Beyond. And let's go with Savage Attacker. I bet this one's going to make sense. Once per turn, while you roll damage for a melee weapon attack, you can re-roll the weapon's damage dice and use... Yeah, that's... You can re-roll the damage weapons. That actually works for mana that you spend as well. So if you were to, like, say, dump 3 points of mana in to add an extra 3d6 damage to your attack roll, you'd be able to roll those 3d6 again as well. So Savage Attacker is actually a really fucking great skill to have. So we definitely want to add that one. That one makes, like, a ton of sense just right off the cuff. A lot of this stuff should be common sense, and if we build the narratives well, it should go well. So we'll just go Savage Attacker, which is a feat. Congratulations, you get it for free just for taking Path of Wild Magic. You might not have ever considered taking Savage Attacker, but given what the class is narratively, it just makes sense, right? Yeah. I mean, there's so many different things. The social pyramid, the social skill tree, exploration, and combat all get advantages and boosts. And this is just the first document. We can dive into like social combat. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do with like trap springing and detection. There's a large sprawling list of different mana effects you can use in the different pillars to make characters less and less combat oriented and more focused on whatever tier of play your team prefers to focus inside of, using your mana to bend numbers in your favor. So it's like, I don't cast a spell to suggest you. I can instead say spend 2 mana to get like a 2d10 on my die roll to influencing you, so I can change your disposition so you view my requests as friendly endeavors. You know, so you want to help me. Like, that's kind of like suggestion or charm person, but without that feedback of, oh, I fucking hate you for having done this to me because you ensorcelled me. This is just, it's kind of like Bardic Inspiration die, that it's just the magic that infuses you just makes you compelling to people. There's a lot of different narratives you can play with that martial energy. So, anyway, yeah. Let's see if there is another feat that we can find in here. Let's look at Dungeon Delver. For some reason, Dungeon Delver is grabbing my attention. Dungeon Delver. Let's see what that does. I do this, normally I do this every Tuesday. My team had to, my lunchtime adventure team fell apart today. So I happen to have 90 minutes open for me to play around with. So I just decided to jump in and keep doing this. But normally I do this every Tuesday at lunch. I do artwork in the morning for Spelljammer book that I'm publishing Monday through Friday. And then on Saturday mornings, I do commissions for book covers or private work. like personal projects. So I'm always doing stuff. Oh yeah, and then on Monday and Thursday nights I do Eberron Adventure, cartography, and creature tokens. But god damn, there's a lot going on with Dungeon Delver. Alert to the hidden traps and secret doors found in many dungeons. You gain the following benefits. You have advantage on wisdom, perception, intelligence, investigation checks made to detect the presence of secret doors. You have advantage on saving throws made to avoid or resist traps. You have resistance to the damage dealt by traps. Traveling at a fast pace doesn't impose the the normal -5 penalty to the passive wisdom perception score. I don't know. What do you guys think? Does Dungeon Delver feel like a wild magic sort of thing? Like the door just suddenly, like a hidden door just suddenly starts glowing blue magic. It's like, what the fuck is going on with blue? It's like in Vampire Survivor, when you gain the silver ring, and so you're going through the different stages, and like little exclamation points pop in the corners. It's like, oh yeah, there's hidden items or there's a hidden door over here. Kind of like that same sort of idea. I think I'm gonna go with Dungeon Delver for now. I think I like that. Until I'm killed or we find something better, we'll go with Dungeon Delver feat. So that's what you get for 3rd level. You get 2 bonus feats, right? You don't have to spend any extra mana and you gain those things. So you're still using your mana pool for whatever it is that you want to use your mana pool for. We'll go back up here to the top. So by the time you gain access to this subtype, at 3rd level, you have 4 powers. And every time you gain a level, you can swap out all of your powers. So you could like have, and the feats don't give you bonus ASI. So if it's a half feat, tough shit for you. You're gaining it as a power. So shut up. ASI only come from ASI gains at certain levels. But at 3rd level, when you gain access to this class, you'll have 4 powers that you get to choose, and then you gain all this extra stuff. So right out the gate, you're getting 2 bonus feats plus, so that frees you up to be able to grab whatever kit stuff that you want. Let's see, 5th level. At 5th level, we gain access to 2nd rank powers, and we haven't even chosen any powers yet, but we still have access to 2nd. And the way that I have this structured is that you don't have to have 2nd rank powers when you gain 5th level. There's like 560 spells in D&D. So them saying, yeah, at 3rd level you get a 1st level spell selection. There's like 200 spells to pick from. You're gonna find something. But we have a much smaller initial kit that we're working with here. So it can be anything up to your maximum rank of power. So at 5th level, it could be a feat, it could be a 1st level power, it could be a second rank power. And at 9th level, it could be up to 3rd rank. There's actually nothing that exceeds 4th rank. And that is a design decision so that at 13th level, your character has access to all the cool shit that you can possibly do in this book. As far as powers are concerned. So at 17th level, when you have access to 5th rank power, you can just make these things more powerful with higher die rolls. But by the time you hit 13th level, which is realistic for a lot of the D&D campaigns that exist, you're already rocking the high level shit like Frenzy, Indestructible, Master of Fate, all that kind of stuff you just have access to and you can start using right away. It's expensive for your level, but you're never gonna, like if you're playing Descent into Avernus and ends at 15th level, as a martial power character, you're still gonna be able to fulfill all the cool crap that your barbarian is supposed to be able to do because it caps out at 14th level as a subclass and with its powers. Anything beyond that is just bonus, right? I mean, literally. So that's Dungeon Delver. That works out good. Let's see. 5th level. What do we get at 6th level that might inform us about how we may want to go? So we modified, you can see all this stuff in extensive design yesterday, but bolstering defense, you can gain, you can bump a power die for people's checks while you're raging, and you can also give mana back to anybody that you touch, including yourself. So those are the powers that you gain. You can pause the screen here to take a look at this if you want to. But so this is empowering other people. So let's go into. I think I want to step out of feats at level 5, and I want to start exploring different sustained effects. And if you are new to the system, concentration effects. If you get damaged, half the damage is the DC of your concentration check. Otherwise, any saving throw that you make at all is considered a concentration check. So if you have to make an intelligence saving throw, that gets measured against your your concentration DC. And your concentration DC equals 8 plus the number of mana that you're currently sustaining. But you can sustain multiple effects at the same time. So like a 13th level character could be sustaining Castigation and Cloud Strider at the same time. They each cost 2 each. So your minimum DC on concentration checks now become 14. And you can just, like, you could have 4 different first rank effects. Like you could have Cliff Runner, Crouching Stance, Elemental Resistance, and Fast maintained all at the same time. They each cost 1 point. A 13th level character with a 4 rank max could stack all those things together. But if intelligence is your dump stat and you get hit with a DC 14 intelligence save, even if you succeed the saving throw, if it wasn't at least a 14 on the die roll, you lose all your shit. Everything gets burned off and you have nothing left. So instead you can lock the mana. If you lock your mana, you no longer have to maintain concentration on it, but you also can't use mana anymore because you're tying your mana up in a locked channel to permanently sustain the ability. So I could lock Aquatic Adaptation and swim underwater all day with zero fear of ever losing concentration unless you're killed. There's a couple caveats up above, like if I start a short rest, I'm willingly ending any locked effects. But like if I'm 13th level, I can have up to 4 ranks of power, and like I lock Aquatic Adaptation and say Dire Impact, that's 2 mana. If I lock both of those, that means I can only channel 2 mana beyond that, like for strikes or exploits or boost effects, maneuvers, or other sustained effects. I can lock some sustained effects and leave others open as I wish. But a barbarian that's raging can't maintain concentration. So when a barbarian chooses to channel a sustained power, it automatically locks when you do so. You can burn mana and maintain concentration out of rage, but as soon as you rage, all sustained effects immediately lock. So as you're raging and at higher levels, when you rage, you can choose to activate to channel a sustained power as part of the bonus action of raging. So when you rage, you can activate a sustained power. So it becomes like in Path of Exile, you have a bunch of things that like auras that could be sequenced together to auto trigger upon effect. You make rage your auto effect, and it automatically triggers that sustained power and locks. But it cuts off all your mana stream, some or all of your mana stream in the process. So anyway, that's some of the ideas that we're playing with. So more things to control, but much easier to lose. Yeah. And again, if you don't want to fuck with any of that, just take a shitload of feats instead and don't worry about it. Ignore your mana pool and just have a juiced up feat character. It's up to you how far into the mechanics you want to dive, or how hands off you want to be about them, depending on how much you like manipulating mana and toggling switches. Our ranger on our team, our ranger loves toggling different switches to get different blast effects when he's using his archery. Our wild shaping druid likes to lock effects so that she can always be rampaging as a bear, for instance. So it's just different flavors have different action sequence that you can build out, and the system allows you to have that adaptability. Grinding Gear Games is not interested in promoting me in building a Path of Exile RPG, but I think it's just because they aren't thinking straight yet. But I'm here for you guys. So let's see, we're supposed to be building wild magic stuff. So let's see if there's anything cool in here that feels wild magic-y. Let's see. I'm just going to start off in second rank. Auto attunement. When sustaining this power, you are attuned to any magic item you're wearing or holding that you meet the prerequisites to use. I love that. If you pick up an item that requires attunement, as long as you're maintaining the 2 mana to maintain that aura on you, it's automatically attuned, assuming that you could use it. So I think I want to use that. So that feels like a Wild Surge magical sort of thing to do, Auto attunement. Sus 2. Like, most barbarians would never choose to take auto attunement, but the flavor feels right for a wild magic character. It's like, yeah, you pick it up, it's like the magic just automatically infuses, it just works for you. That just feels like it makes sense. Let's see, strange metabolism. While sustaining this power, you are immune to poison damage and the poison condition. In addition, as a bonus action, you can make an unarmed attack that deals 1 power die of poison damage, and the creature must make a Constitution saving throw or be poisoned until it succeeds a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns. I actually have to modify that. And the creature is poisoned until it succeeds a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns. Some of this stuff I haven't visited in a while, but I think strange metabolism actually kind of makes sense. But before I completely lock myself down, I'm seeing unnatural resistance down here, which is also compelling to me. DM gives armor of vulnerability. Barbarian auto attunes. Guy who I isn't it coming off. Aces. Fucking aces, man. That's great. Unnatural resistance. When you channel this power, choose 1 type of damage: force, necrotic, psychic, or radiant. You gain resistance to the chosen type of damage and gain advantage on saving throws to reduce the damage taken of the chosen damage type. You can channel this power more than once simultaneously, choosing a different type of damage with each channeling. Considering that the Wild Magic Barbarian only has reduction for BPS, I actually feel this actually kind of feels appropriate. I don't know, what do you think? Unnatural resistance or strange anatomy? Or strange metabolism? I actually think unnatural resistance feels more it is more magical. So I think that kind of goes with the wild magic. Let's go with that. Let's go with unnatural resistance. That can actually be really fucking clutch if you need it. Unnatural resistance. Sus 2. Like, again, this is something that you as a barbarian might not like actually ever choose to take, but it being given to you for free, that comes in handy. You if you're fighting a red dragon and you decide to rage, and then you just auto lock resistance. No, that'd be a red dragon. Psychic, radiant. That would be. There's actually lower level. There is a elemental resistance. Yeah, elemental resistance. When you choose this power, choose 1 type of damage: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. You gain resistance. Actually, yeah, I think elemental resistance is where we should be for Sus 1. Because it's a lower level, it's cheaper and easier to afford at 5th level. And then I think I'm just going to go ahead and tap in here and go with unnatural resistance at 13th level. Sus 2. Sus as in sustained. Sustained power rank 2. That, I think, makes a lot of sense, because by the time you get to 13th, you're going to be dealing with like a lot of force and necrotic effects, psychic effects. I think that would end up being nice. And at 5th level, it's affordable. You can sustain the elemental resistance and do something else on top of it. Auto attunement is expensive, but it really should be. It's probably one of those things you're not going to use a lot, but it comes in handy when you actually need it. So I'm down with that. So 9th level. Let's play with 9th level. Again, we start off with sustained effects, and then we bleed down into other things. We've got a few different sustained powers here already. I think we're probably going to end up going down into like maneuvers and reactions at this point. But since we're here, let's take a look at what sustained powers exist. There's not a lot of them, as you can see. Not a lot of them. God, haste is really good. I mean, it's just haste. I mean, haste is a 3rd level spell, and using my mana system, 3rd level spells cost 3 mana. Duh. It's how you, if Wizards of the Coast had made spell points that simple, then everyone would ask, why the fuck are we wasting our time with Vancian magic in your spell slots? And honestly, they want to maintain legacy. I think they made it difficult on purpose. I really do. So come at me, bro. But flurry attack, when sustaining this power, you gain a bonus action, including the bonus action used to sustain flurry attack, to make 2 weapon attacks. So that's really freaking choice. It's expensive. That's something we have on the Berserker, because that's like totally a Berserker thing to do. but it doesn't feel like wild magic. Daunting presence. While sustaining this power, attack rolls against you are made with disadvantage. And when you are the only target of an effect that requires you to make a saving throw, you roll with advantage. That could be wild. I don't think so, though. I don't think it's there. Haste, Ghostwalker. Yeah, these don't specifically feel like wild magic to me. So I think I want to bounce out of here. And let's go down. We haven't even looked at any strike powers yet. So let's see if there's anything cool that hangs out in strike powers that we can use. We're at 3rd rank or less. And right off the cuff, Delusional Strike is really catching my fancy. Your weapon can deal psychic damage and add 1 power die per mana burned. And the attacker and the creature is confused. So Delusional Strike, it's a 3rd rank power. It requires 3 mana when it just like Smite. These are alternate smites. Like if you use the power system with your ranger, with your paladin, you're either going to choose the paladin spells that are in the player's handbook, or you're going to choose the strike powers and divine strike options that we have in the book here, because they like this system allows you to do a lot more stuff. The stuff in the player's handbook does more damage. So we have that as an alternate option. We didn't just make it like paladins scale better than any other class in the game that would use martial powers as strike abilities. But if you want to keep the paladin spells and divine smite, you can. You just don't use strikes for your paladin, which we lay out. It's like you have to choose one or the other. This gives you flexibility. The other one gives you just raw damage. It's up to you which one you want. But a paladin would still be able to use sustained powers, exploits, maneuvers, and reactions instead of learning spells. So rangers and paladins get the best of both. Like if you want to pick up some spells as a ranger and then flesh out the rest of your shit like maneuvers and reactions, you can do that. You just pick and choose as you go. But anyway, okay, so Delusional Strike, you deal psychic damage and you add 1 power die per mana burn. Since it's a 3rd rank power, it's going to require 3 dice. At 9th level, you're rolling you're rolling a D8 at 9th level, so you'd be rolling 3d8 extra damage on top of, and it would all be psychic damage, so your weapon becomes a psychic weapon when you use the Delusional Strike, and then the creature becomes confused. Compare the result of the highest power die roll. So when you roll your 3 dice, pick which one of the dice. Compare, let's see, I actually want to change this. Choose one result. One of the power dice results. To the table below. Choose one of the power dice results and compare it. Choose one of the power dice results and compare it to the table below on a roll. So again, at 1st level, you roll a D6. At 9th level, you roll a D8. At 17th level, you roll a D10. So at low levels, since it's a 3rd rank power, you don't have access to it before 9th level, which means it's either going to be a D8 or a D10 only. So when you roll your die, and you're going to roll 3 of them, so let's assume 3d8. You roll, say, a 4, a 6, and an 8. So you would then be able to look at the results. 1 to 2 is creature acts and moves normally, which sucks. 3 or 4, creature uses all its movements to move in a random direction. Roll a d8 to choose which way. 1 north, 3 east, 5 south, 7 west. And then I'm just quick noting here that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Dial compass. This is going to run in a random direction. If the power die you choose is a 5 or a 6, then melee attack against a random creature within reach, otherwise does nothing. And then if you roll a 7 or above, and if you're 17th level, you got a 10, 9, 8, 7, the creature doesn't move or take actions this turn. The creature can attempt to end this effect at the end of each of its turns by succeeding a wisdom saving throw. And what's not said there is against your channeling DC. Since everything in this book is against your channeling DC, I never have to fucking mention it. It's just assumed. I don't have to add that redundant language. But I can have like succeed a Constitution saving throw here in Stun Strike, for instance. Beefy Taco says, Delusional Strike makes me think of an animated sword, but instead of hitting, it just says it holds about its intended foe. I think Delusional Strike is a pretty damn good one. So let's go with, but actually I think that's like high level stuff. Let's go with Delusion. Since there are no 5th rank powers, at 17th level, we're going to have to pick something from level 1 to 4 anyway. And I think Delusional Strike at 17th level makes a lot of sense. It's expensive, but you have a fuck ton of mana at that level anyway. So I think it's Delusional Strike. There we go. So back on point. Those are our options at 3rd rank. And so that's cool. But let's see if there's anything that's a lower level that might make sense. 2nd rank strikes. Asium Strike, radiant damage, extra damage from burned dice, creature glows with faint light, regaining invisibility. Nah, that doesn't feel like... Well, I guess it could be chaos magic, but I bet we could find something more chaotic than that. You can pause anytime you want and take a look at this stuff, or just jump into the document, into my Patreon link. It's free for you to look at. Psionic Strike, Shocking Strike, when you deal force damage... Shocking Strike, you can deal lightning damage and add 1 power die per mana burned. Like if I'm 17th level, I can burn up to 5 mana, right? I have a channeling limit of 5. So even though Shocking Strike is only a 1st rank power, I could use Shocking Strike, deal 5 extra, and at 17th level it would be D10. So I do my weapon damage plus 5d10 worth of dice damage, and then the kicker effect, which is the creature can't take reactions until the end of its next turn. So... that's not bad. Thundering Strike, you push people. When 1 D&D comes out and we see what the final format of weapon masteries are, we'll have to recalibrate our strikes and add the weapon masteries to the feat list. So like if you want to pick up Nick, Push, and Vex, for instance, you could spend 3 powers just to pick those up. And then you'd be able to come back into the strikes and add extra dice of damage on top of like save X if you wanted to, or whatever. However you want to play that. We'll just have to recalibrate it. But right now, 5th edition is 5th edition. And this will publish before 1D&D becomes whatever. So I have to build for what we actually know, not what we think that may be. But us being able to adapt and rebuild the thing to be able to take into account, we're already thinking about that process. So all this shit will be evergreen. We just have to rebuild all of the books so that they calibrate with what 1D&D becomes. But yeah, that doesn't specifically jump out at me as like wild magic. So I don't think that Corroding Strike, yeah. None of the, I mean, your character's going to pick up strikes. Like you're going to buy into strikes. So you're going to want strikes. So it's not a hard sell for you to get them. It's just, do any of them like make sense specifically for wild magic? Here, the Delusional Strike does, but otherwise no. So that means we get to move down into reactions. So we're looking at reactions now. There's 21 different reactions at different mana costs. We are technically looking at 3rd rank. That's our priority right now. So let's look at 3 and below. Defense Barrier allows you to create a momentary translucent barrier, granting you full cover against the attack. This is a reaction. So as a reaction, you can create a momentary translucent, like a small... force wall, like a man-sized force wall, granting you full cover against the attack, causing the attack to automatically miss unless it ignores cover. The barrier disappears after the attack. That's cool, but maybe not necessarily. It's kind of wild magic. Kind of like the idea of that potentially being wild magic. I'll say that's an iffy maybe. Countering attack. As a reaction to when an enemy within range of your weapon attack casts a spell, make an opportunity attack. If it hits, the caster takes damage and must make a Constitution saving throw against your channeling DC or half the damage dealt, whichever is greater. If the save fails, the spell is disrupted as though affected by counter spell. That's a mage killer, but it's not specifically wild magic, so that feels an off flavor. Anchor, as a reaction to a creature attempting to move, teleport, or shift planes. It takes 1 power die of damage per mana burned, which is 3, but it could be up to 5, up to you. And must succeed a charisma saving throw against your channeling DC, or it can't move, teleport, or shift planes until the beginning of its next turn. This effect is a save ahead of time because it's an instant effect that either stops you or doesn't. It doesn't have like a sustained effect. Like you're either going to teleport or you're not. So it having like you can't, like I attempt to teleport, well you can't until the beginning of your next turn. Well, I already burned my ability. In that sort of a circumstance, having the saving throw decide whether they can or not makes sense in this particular sequence. That's an exception to the general rule of shit just happens to you and you have to save to get out of it. But if it's not an ongoing effect, then there's nothing to get out of, if that makes sense. So that's why there's occasional exceptions. Oh, this one might make a lot of sense. One's own luck. As a reaction to rolling 1 or more power dice, you can re-roll any number of dice and take the highest result. It costs you 2 mana to do it, but if you're throwing 5 mana and you end up with like a bunch of 2s and 3s and you're trying to cap the end boss, again, this is something you may not actually ever choose to learn on your own, but adding it to your kit to automatically be there will occasionally say, actually, that's a pretty good thing to use. I'm glad I have this one adventure out of the last 15 that we've had, but it's not causing any lag in your character build. So cheers. Yeah, let's add one's own luck. So we'll go with one's own luck, which is our reaction to. And we have another one open for 3rd rank. So let's... Curse of the Fallen Puppet doesn't make sense. Let's look at 1st rank reactions. Controlled Fall. As a reaction to falling, you can land on your feet instead of prone and reduce the damage taken by 10 times your proficiency bonus. So anywhere from 20 to 60 feet you get to negate. I'm good with that. But I don't think that's a wild magic sort of thing. Curse of Exposure. This one might make sense. As a reaction to a creature within 30 feet of you taking damage, if the creature is resistant to the damage, it can't benefit from resistance to the damage rolled. Alternatively, if it's immune to the damage, it is instead only resistant. That is a 1 mana cost to shut down something's resistance or immunity for that specific attack. So it's expensive, but in the moment, super fucking useful. And at high levels, really, really useful. Maybe, but for wild magic, maybe not. Let's see. Deflection. As a reaction to when you or an ally within reach of you, of your melee attack, are hit by reach of your... This is the language I use a lot in here, so it takes into account for like larger sizes, bugbear's reach, as well as like sentinel, like polearm reach weapons. So as a reaction to when you or an ally within reach of your melee attack are hit by an attack roll from a source you can see, the attack is re-rolled, taking the new result. This result can't score a critical hit. So like anytime your DM throws a d20, if you have deflection, it just shuts down that crit from fucking your characters. So like but again, also, if a DM has deflection, like if you have like say an Iron Golem and you're fighting an Iron Golem mini boss, right? And the DM gives that Golem deflection, at any time he can decide to pop deflection and completely just nuke that Paladin's natural 20 that he was planning on using smite with to double up his smite. It's like, nah, we're just going to deflect that. You have to re-roll, and even if you roll a crit again, it doesn't count. So like this FU style of DMing feels controversial, but it's in there to challenge and shut down action sequence and action loops that characters have. So it's like good for goose and gander sort of stuff. So it's designed to be in there so that the characters can be can basically take as bad as they dish out, which is something I think is sorely missing in 5e. The game is very consequence averse. Like they don't Wizards doesn't want their new players feeling bad and leaving their game to go play Pathfinder instead. But people that leave D&D to go play Pathfinder are generally people that are interested in having consequences to actions. So I think introducing that consequence to your decisions, or like you decided to pick this fight, you can go ahead and suck up that this vampire has a fuckload of one's own luck, and he's going to be biting the fuck out of you, and it's going to suck. Pardon the pun. But that's the kind of mentality and the philosophy that goes behind it, which will be in the DM section of this book. Like monsters with, like we already have, here, I'll show you. We have a whole section already built out for DM stuff. I'm going to put a marker there and just kick down here. So we're over here, we're laying out down here around page 60 in the document. We're looking at creatures using power, and then we're breaking down the 4E design philosophy between artillery, brutes, controllers, lurkers. So like if you want to have a skirmisher, here's the kit of shit that they just get. Rogue stance for mobility. They can use it once. They can use it at will. Once per round, they can either use charge or double strike. And once per encounter, they can use Ride the Wind or Flicker Pounce, for instance. Like, that's what a skirmisher can do. And the rank of the power kind of gives you an idea of, like, what your CR range is. Because creatures have CR ranges that they gain access to power through, which is mentioned down here as well. Here you go. Up to CR1 is first rank. 14 plus CR equals they have access to 5th rank. So when you're looking at a skirmish build like this, like the skirmisher, 3rd rank power maneuver of Flicker Pounce, you know that you have to be at least CR6 to have access to that. So the DM can build an infinite kit of different types of, like, say, lizardmen. You can have control lizardman shaman. You can have lizardmen creeping underneath the swamp water to jump out and attack you and then vanish again when they do. You can have javelin flingers as artillery lizardmen. Like, you can just apply these kits just spontaneously to any creatures that you throw at the team. So you can always have, you can have like a lizardman theme and have like kobolds, lizardmen, and dragonborn, and have each of them operate in a different way. Like dragonborn are controllers and artillery, for instance, while kobolds maybe are skirmishers, and the lizardmen are like lurkers and brutes, for instance. That you could break things down that way, and then apply these different kits to them. So go back up here to where we were. So yeah, that's down on page 60. You can check that out on your own. Let's see. So yeah, that's right. We were exploring reactions. Curse of exposure. We looked at that. No. Deflection. That's not very chaotic. Dowd, trotting, evasive. As a reaction to when you are hit by an attack roll from a source that you can see, you gain a +5 bonus armor class that remains in effect until the beginning of your next turn, including against the triggering attack, potentially turning a hit into a miss. If that sounds like the shield spell, it is, except that it doesn't do anything against magic missiles. But yeah, it's one of the okay. So I've been using mana for a long time, and what I do know is that people will do anything they can to bend into getting access to shield, and I'm fine with that. If they want to burn their mana, throwing up a +5 armor class bonus for the round, as a DM, all you do is just increase all the attack bonuses for everything that they fight by 3. That way, they're getting some advantage from that +5 bonus. But if they don't use it, they immediately feel it because things hit you easier. Your DM can adapt what the creatures they're facing can do based on what the party is capable of doing. So this is a general design philosophy that I talk about during my art streams a lot, that you have to have your game adapt to what the team can do. CR doesn't mean anything. It's all about what are their armor classes, what are their saves, what are their DCs, what's their maximum damage, what are their saving throws like, what are their skill checks like. All that shit is actually what calibrates what you should be throwing against your team. And then you can just skin it however you want. Anyway, what about that puppet curse? That actually is I actually took everything from the Blood Hunter, all the curses and abilities and stuff for the Blood Hunter class, and converted them into mana effects. So if you don't like the narrative of having to bleed yourself to gain advantages on things, you can instead take them as powers. But Curse of the Fallen Puppet is as a reaction to when a creature within 30 feet drops to 0 hit points, you can command the creature to move up to half its speed and make an ability attack against a creature you can see
adding 1 power die to the attack roll. The creature then dies. That is literally, other than the power die, it's I think I don't forget what the Blood Hunter actually does, but that is literally just an effect for the Blood Hunter. So I stole everything in there so that you could reflavor it, or like if you wanted to build a Blood Hunter Paladin or a Blood Hunter Ranger or a Blood Hunter Barbarian, you can just cherry pick different things out of here that are Blood Hunter-esque, and then use those. So I'll need to put a tag on here that indicates Blood Hunter. But I have an old document that has all of them listed aside. But I don't think that really feels like wild magic. I can see how, I don't know, I see what you're saying. Because like you kill something and then like your wild magic jumps into their corpse and forces them to fight on a little bit further. Is that kind of what you were thinking about? Don't use that on party members. Don't use that on party members. It's fun though. It's definitely fun. Let's see. Evasive footwork. Well, I think we gave that to the the dead token rogue character. I think we gave that, and we're going to give that to the monk, last breath or whatever that is, the one that controls life and death. We're going to give Curse of the Fallen Puppet to that monk's subtype, which I'm really looking forward to getting into. Opt as a reaction to rolling an ability check, but before determining success, you can roll a d20 and take the higher result. That's not a horrible option, pardon the pun. Derp. Where are we at on our stream? 100 minutes. Okay, we got another 20 minutes. We'll get this fleshed out by then for sure. You know what? Let's move out. Let's move out of reactions for now. And let's go into maneuvers. We haven't even looked at maneuvers yet. So let's see. We're currently working with 3rd rank. So let's see what cool shit we have going on in 3rd rank. Wave of Terror. You can choose any number of creatures within 30 feet of you to make a wisdom saving throw. Each creature that fails is frightened of you. The effect ends for a creature when it succeeds a wisdom saving throw at the end of each of its turns, or if it loses line of sight with you. Maybe. Telekinetic Bubble. Choose a creature up to large size within 30 feet. If it fails a dexterity saving throw, it becomes trapped within a resilient sphere. The creature can take dex save. Choose a creature up to large size within 30 feet. Period. It becomes trapped within a resilient sphere. The creature can dex save to end the effect at the end of each of its turns. You can spend +2 mana to target a huge size creature. Yes. Actual bubble. Flicker Pounce, you can teleport up to 30 feet to a space within 5 feet of a creature you can see and make a weapon attack against them. If the attack succeeds, you can choose to teleport back to your original position. If the attack fails, you don't teleport the second time. We already have the teleport effect off of the Wild Magic Surge, so I think I want to avoid that. Double Strike, it's an exploit. Make 2 weapon attacks with advantage. These are maneuvers, and maneuvers can a maneuver can be triggered by a bonus action or an action instead of making attacks. So like a rogue that would normally only have 1 action, for instance, you could use, if you wanted to, you could use double strike as an action to make 2 attacks, and then as a bonus action you could use double strike again to make 4 attacks in 1 round. It's just going to cost you 6 mana to do it, which is stupid expensive, but if you need it, you need it. So there it is for you as an option. But that doesn't feel particularly like a chaos thing. Curse of Enfeeblement. You curse a creature to take that you can see to deal half damage with attacks until the target succeeds a strength saving throw at the end of each of its turns. Like save is simply them trying to pop the bubble. Yes, exactly. Them just trying to pop the bubble. But then that goes into that go like the actual Resilient Sphere spell. It's a 4th level spell, and once you're in there, you're stuck in there. There's nothing you can do about it, which is a massive debuff F you. But if you fail the saving throw, if you succeed the saving throw, the spell doesn't work at all. So you just burn your 4 mana, no benefit. Again, the system is giving you at least something as a result of what you're doing. Whether you can keep it up is going to be up to the target. But then you can like curse them so they have disadvantage on their dexterity saving throws, or you can use like Stolen Fate to take away their die roll and give them a different one in exchange, or like Silvery Barbs if you're into that shit at your table. You can hit them with Silvery Barbs when they try to squeeze their way out of the bubble. Like, nope, shut down. Like, there's a lot of different things we have here that are already in the game that you can fuck over people's saving throws with, which I just love. I love that action and consequences sort of stuff. But I don't think any of these specifically feel. I mean, some of these things could be wild magic, but none of them are just jumping out at me saying this is wild magic. So shunt, creatures that are size large or smaller that you choose within 10 feet of you make a strength saving throw or push 10 feet per mana burned in the direction of your choice. That affects a whole crowd. I think I actually want to modify that. But I'm not sure yet. I feel like modifying it though. But this affects all creatures around you. So them all having a saving throw or get pushed is like different from like say the push strike, which is you hit them, they automatically get pushed. But this is an AoE, so you're hitting a whole bunch of people. So the idea there is at least some of them are going to get pushed, so you're going to get benefit out of it. It's not a complete loss. Shunt could be like a sudden forced teleport or like temporarily throwing them into another plane of existence. Nice. You're thinking thematically as far as like the wild mage is concerned, or wild magic? Yeah. Theurgy, target creature you can see within 30 feet makes a charisma saving throw. Fail equals no move or bonus action until they succeed at the end of each of its turns. Some of these I haven't visited in a while because my philosophy behind when you get to save has changed, and I apparently haven't revisited the Theurgy. So them automatically failing would push this up to 3 mana instead of 2 because of the action economy that you're stealing from them. I'm not 100% on that one yet. Swift Attunement, use an object interaction to attune to a magic item you're holding. That's a maneuver. So you could use your action or bonus action, as opposed to the auto attune, which is a sustained effect that requires you to concentrate on mana and be able to do those things. Use an object interaction to attune to a magic item you're holding. Swift Attunement just lets you automatically just pop the effect. I don't think that feels necessarily like wild magic. It kind of is, but I think the aura does a better job with it. Coordinated attack. Curse of the Eyeless. You curse a creature you can see to reduce the result of all attack rolls by the highest die, the result of 1 power die per mana burned. The creature can make an intelligence saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect when it succeeds. Maybe. Curse of the Muddled Mind. You curse a creature you can see to roll ability checks and concentration checks with disadvantage. The creature can make an intelligence saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect when it succeeds. I'm kind of into that. Kind of into Curse of the Muddled. Let's look at exploits real quick before we settle. Empowered Synergy. When you use a bonus action to channel a maneuver, you can make a weapon attack as part of the bonus action. This attack can be made at the beginning, end, or during the empowered maneuver. It's expensive, but it curves into what a barbarian can naturally do by themselves. Healing Radiance would be a bit different, but could make sense as an instinct. Ooh, good points. Let's look at that. Healing Radiance. You can heal one creature you touch with a number of hit points equal to the result of 1 power die per mana burned. It's a first rank power. Very minimal. Yeah, it's wild magic. You know what? I'm kind of into that. Let's go with it. And as a maneuver, it's a first rank maneuver, so you can pump as much mana as you want into it to give power dice of damage. It's a horrible healer. It's far less efficient than what a cleric or a druid or a bard would be able to do. But it is something. And on top of it, it's a maneuver. So you could use both an action and a bonus action on the same creature. Like you could devote your action economy that round specifically to doing that. If you were a fighter, you could actually action surge and do it 3 times in one round. So it's actually a really cool spot check, a spot heal. Yeah, I think I'm down with that. I'm on board with you, buddy. Nice one. Now we're looking at 4th rank. So let's go. 4th rank is the top rank. It doesn't get better than 4th. So we're looking at the top end shit that we can do here. Yeah, the best people to have a way to heal are the ones who normally can't. Damn straight. I'm down with that. Let's see, unstoppable. When this was a I think we used this on the battle rager. Unstoppable when an effect or condition other than incapacitated or death reduces your movement to 0. You can ignore the movement penalty for 1 round during your turn. Again, this is an exploit, so it typically only is an instant effect that modifies your movement or a die roll. So, when an effect or condition other than incapacitated or death reduces your movement to 0, you can ignore the movement penalty for 1 round during your turn, though you might not be able to take any other action. That's fun. I don't know if it's wild magic specifically. Assassination doesn't make sense for the wild magic. But it was great for the assassin rogue when you deal damage with a weapon attack to a target that has yet to act in combat or is unaware of your attack. You automatically deal maximum damage, including any additional damage dice such as sneak attack or when channeling the strike power. It's an exploit. It's expensive as fuck to use. It's high-end shit. It's a high cost with a high reward. And it would work with crit if you were to crit, but it doesn't allow you to crit. It just deals the maximum amount of damage. Jeez, that almost feels like it should be in the wild magic kit. And I don't think it should be hard-coded to it, though. You could always just pick that as something. I'm just trying to find stuff that feels core, that you may not pick yourself, but otherwise benefit from having. So I'm going to skip both of those. Opportunistic. When you make an opportunity attack, you can attack the same creature twice, which is fucking awesome if you have an opportunity-built character, but not specifically wild magic. First strike. Ooh, empowered synergy. When you use a bonus action to channel a maneuver, you can. That's a very meta power. I don't think it jives. Ride the wind. Phase attack. You make an attack roll with a target against a target with less than full cover. You can ignore the cover and attack with advantage if you can see the target. What do you got going on? Is there something that could maybe allow you to walk through solid objects temporarily? Yeah, there is. Hold on. Let's see. Go, flatten, healing, rally, resistance, swift, vanish, curse, Theurgy, phase. 2nd rank power, phase. It is a maneuver, so it's going to take an action or a bonus action to trigger. You become incorporeal until the beginning of your next turn. You can move through other objects and creatures as if you had full difficult terrain at the end of the maneuver. Unoccupied space. Any attack you make during phase deals force damage. Do you think that's something that feels intrinsic to a wild magic barbarian? I'm not sold on that one yet. Subtle channeling? Nah. Resilient. When making a saving throw, you roll 1 power die per mana channel, adding the highest roll to your result. Range strike, proselytizer, overrun, inquisitive, ground fighting, field medic. Extended attack, commanding presence, charge, adept. I guess if we're reaching at this point anyway, phase attack, you can ignore cover. Become incorporeal until the beginning of your next turn. You can move through other creatures and objects. Hey, I've got someone at my door. That's disruptive. Hold on. All right, I had a work order to get my sync fixed, so that is being worked on currently. Let's see, phase. Let's go with phase. You become incorporeal until the beginning of your next turn. You can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. If you end your turn in a space occupied by another creature or object, you instead end your turn in the most recently unoccupied space that you move through during your turn. Any attacks you make during phase deal force damage. What do you got to say? Imagine your mind is so clouded with rage that you lose focus on what's around you. It causes things to fade around you. Yeah, let's go with it. Phase. That is a maneuver. Maneuver 2. And 2. All right, all we need are one last thing. Let's see if there's anything cool out here that we want to grab. So if a person runs into a locked room, for instance, you can charge right through the door without even breaking it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see. All we got to do is find one more, and then I'm going to pack it up for the day. So, you know what? Honestly, let's go with telekinetic bubble. That's like a super fucking random thing to have. I think that's a lot of fun. Telekinetic bubble, which is a maneuver 3. There we go. I'm cool with that. How's that feel? Dungeon Delver, Savage Attacker, Auto Attunement, Elemental Resistance, One's Own Luck, Healing Radiance, Unnatural Resistance, Phase, Delusional Strike, Telekinetic Bubble. And then on top of that, you can pick 16 completely arbitrary abilities or feats that you want for yourself. I'm pretty hip on that. And then you have all the random stuff that you get just for being... and then you have the stack of just wild shit that can just happen. Creature hits you with melee attack, retribution. To your rage end, you're surrounded by multicolored protective lights. Gain AC bonus. Yeah, there's nothing here that's not more random than what we picked. So I'm actually pretty cool with having like this, actually having a really wide hodgepodge of magical effects that you can trigger. Actually does feel pretty wild magic because it's like a grab bag of just rando stuff. Of all the classes, all the subclasses, Path of Wild Magic really does feel like it'd be the most kitchen sinkable. So actually, yeah, I think that's really good insights, man. I think I've hit my timestamp. I am at, where are we at? Check it down here on my signature on the bottom rack. Yeah, at 1 minute and 23 minutes. I've got some repair work going on here. I might have to answer some questions. This is actually perfect timing. So I'm going to go ahead and dip out for the day. If there's anyone else that's hanging out new, like and subscribe. I do design work this at lunch every Tuesday. Today was just a bonus day because I had the opportunity. I'm here in the mornings, Monday through Thursday, doing artwork for the Spelljammer book that we've built. Monday and Thursday night, we're here doing Eberron adventure cartography and token design for the adventure that we created that will also be on DMsGuild. And then on Saturday, we do personal projects and paid commissions. And we'll be starting a new commission project this Saturday as well. So if any of this stuff is cool to anybody that's out there listening, like, subscribe, and catch up with us. So I will see you guys on the other side, and I really appreciate you. Thanks a lot.